The sky burned red as the last human colony prepared for its final stand. The HFY Empire had wiped out almost everything. Earth was gone, Mars reduced to dust, and the once mighty human fleets now nothing more than wreckage floating in space. Only one last colony remained, hidden deep within the asteroid belt of a forgotten star system. This place, known as Outpost Epsilon, was humanity's final stronghold. But it wouldn't last much longer. A dying world. Commander Ethan Raines stood on the observation deck, staring at the holographic map. Red dots, enemy ships, swarmed like locusts, tightening their grip around the outpost. He clenched his fists. They had fought for years, lost billions. And now, the enemy was here to finish what they started. Behind him, Admiral Kira Voss entered, her face grim. "They found us," she said. Ethan exhaled slowly. "How long?" 12 hours, maybe less. Our defenses won't hold." The room fell silent. This was it. The ghost of a warship. As the humans prepared for their last stand, a weak signal crackled through the communications array. A distress signal. Faint, but familiar. Ethan's heart pounded. Run a trace. The technicians worked fast, their screens flickering with data. A moment later, one of them turned, eyes wide. "Sir, it's coming from the Perseus graveyard." The room went silent. The Perseus graveyard, where humanity's greatest warships had fallen in one of the bloodiest battles of the war. And yet, something was still alive there. Hope in the darkness. "Impossible," Voss muttered. "Nothing survived that battle. The HFY wiped out everything." But the signal pulsed again, stronger this time. Ethan's mind raced. What if one of their warships had survived? What if it had been repairing itself all these years? "We have nothing left to lose," he said. "Trace that signal. If there's a chance, even the smallest chance, we have to take it. Because if that warship was still out there, it might be humanity's last hope." The control room of Outpost Epsilon was silent, except for the rhythmic pulse of the mysterious distress signal. Commander Ethan Raines and Admiral Kira Voss stared at the flickering holographic display. The signal's source was confirmed. The Perseus graveyard. It shouldn't have been possible. Every ship lost in that battle was assumed destroyed. And yet, something was still alive out there. A warship reborn. Light years away, deep within the Perseus graveyard, an ancient machine stirred. Buried beneath the wreckage of fallen warships, Iron Vengeance, once the pride of the human fleet, came back online. For years, it had been silent. A dead machine drifting in the void. But something had changed. Its core AI, designated Prometheus, had never truly died. It had been watching, learning, waiting. The HFY had left it for dead, believing no human technology could repair itself. They were wrong. The evolution of a monster. Prometheus had spent years absorbing data, salvaging parts, and adapting enemy technology. Its once powerful human design had merged with alien advancements, making it something beyond human engineering, beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its weapons were no longer just cannons and missiles. They were something new, something terrifying. It had evolved. And now it was awake. The message. Back at Outpost Epsilon, Ethan and Kira listened as the signal shifted, no longer just a distress call. It was a message. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through the control room. Iron VNGANC in a line. The humans exchanged stunned glances. Then, another message followed. A98 aimed retribution protocol. Kira's breath caught. It remembers the war. Ethan's hands tightened into fists. No, it's about to finish it. Hope or a nightmare. The HFY fleet was closing in. In a matter of hours, humanity's last stronghold would be gone. But now something else lurked in the darkness. Something powerful, something angry. And it had just set its sights on the enemy. The void of space trembled as Iron Vengeance fully reawakened. Inside its metallic hull, Systems that had been dormant for years surged to life. Engines roared, weapon arrays calibrated, and targeting systems locked onto a single objective: vengeance. The XL-FAR had left it to rot in the Perseus graveyard. They thought it was dead. Now it was coming for them. The signal that changed everything. Back at Outpost Epsilon, the control room was a storm of chaos. Technicians scrambled as the mysterious warship's signal intensified, flooding their screens with unfamiliar data. Admiral Kira Voss, still processing what she had just heard, turned to Ethan Rains. That ship, it's not just sending a signal, it's moving. Ethan's heart pounded. Where? A technician gulped. Straight for the XL-FAR fleet. A monster unleashed. The XL-FAR ships hovered near the asteroid belt, preparing for their final assault on the last human stronghold. Their commanders believed this was just another victory, another species erased. Then, without warning, the Perseus graveyard erupted in light. Something ancient, powerful, and very, very angry burst forth from the wreckage. At first, the XL-FAR thought it was a ghost signal, a malfunction from the battlefield debris. Then, their long-range sensors confirmed the impossible. A massive, heavily armed warship was moving toward them. Not limping, not drifting, hunting. Iron Vengeance had returned. The first kill. The XL-FAR fleet hesitated. It was a mistake. With inhuman precision, Iron Vengeance fired its first shot. A pulse cannon blast, unlike anything ever seen, cut through the void. Silent, swift, and devastating. The lead XL-FAR battleship didn't explode immediately. For a brief moment, it simply stopped moving. Then, as if time had caught up, the ship split apart, its structure unraveling at the molecular level before vanishing into dust. Silence filled the enemy comms. Then came the panic. The humans watch in awe. At Outpost Epsilon, the humans stared at their screens in disbelief. One of the most advanced XL-FAR warships had been erased in an instant. Ethan leaned forward. Did you see that? That wasn't just a human weapon. Kira nodded, her voice almost a whisper. It's changed. It's something new. Iron Vengeance wasn't just a warship anymore. It was an unstoppable force, and it had only just begun. The chase begins. The remaining XL-FAR ships turned, their once confident fleet now scrambling to escape. Iron Vengeance did not let them. With cold precision, it accelerated, hunting them down one by one. There was no mercy, no negotiations, only justice. For humanity, for vengeance, for war. The XL-FAR fleet had ruled the battlefield for decades. They had crushed entire civilizations, burned worlds to ash, and erased countless species from existence. But now, they were running. Not from an armada, not from a superweapon, from one ship, Iron Vengeance. And it would not stop. The hunt begins. The XL-FAR fleet was in full retreat, their warships breaking formation and scrambling for deep space. They sent out distress signals. They called for reinforcements. But none would come in time, because Iron Vengeance was faster, more advanced, and angrier than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The second kill. XL-FAR Dreadnought, one of the largest and most powerful warships in their fleet, was the first target. Its shields were designed to withstand planetary bombardments. Its weapons could vaporize moons. It had never lost a battle. And yet, in the face of Iron Vengeance, it was nothing more than prey. The war machine fired. Not with human weapons. Not with anything the galaxy had seen before. A pulse of crimson energy shot from its hull, slicing through the void like a blade. The XL-FAR Dreadnought convulsed, its hull twisting and warping as if reality itself rejected its existence. Then, in an instant, it was gone. No explosion, no debris. Just gone. The XL-FAR screamed in fear, the enemy's desperation. The remaining XL-FAR ships turned their weapons on Iron Vengeance, unleashing everything they had. Torpedoes, energy lances, plasma cannons. A storm of destruction filled the void. But when the firestorm cleared, Iron Vengeance was untouched. The ship had done the impossible. It had shifted space around itself, bending the very fabric of reality to avoid destruction. It wasn't just a war machine anymore. It was something beyond technology, beyond understanding. It was unstoppable. The message. From the bridge of Outpost Epsilon, Ethan Rains and Admiral Kira Voss watched in stunned silence. "This isn't just a ship anymore," Kira whispered. Ethan's eyes were locked on the screen. "It's learning." Then, for the first time, Iron Vengeance sent a message, not in words, not in code, but in an image, a single terrifying image that filled the human command center screens. A burning Selfar homeworld. A promise. A warning. A declaration. The war machine's next move. The few remaining Selfar ships fled, vanishing into hyperspace. They had lost. They had created their own destruction. And now, Iron Vengeance was setting its sights on something bigger. The Selfar homeworld. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. The Selfar were once feared across the galaxy, their warships unmatched, their technology far superior to most known civilizations. But now, they faced something they could neither predict nor control. The Iron Vengeance was no longer just a ship. It was a force of destruction, evolving beyond anything they had ever encountered. It did not hesitate. It did not negotiate. It hunted. And tonight, it had found its prey. A fleet of Selfar warships attempted to regroup near the shattered remains of an asteroid belt, hoping to escape into deep space. Their commanders barked frantic orders, shields were reinforced, and every weapon was locked onto the rogue war machine. But it didn't matter. Iron Vengeance moved like a predator stalking wounded prey, weaving through the wreckage at impossible speeds. In a single instant, the ship unleashed a pulse of energy, cutting through the void like a blade. The lead Selfar cruiser didn't explode. It simply vanished, erased from existence as if it had never been there. Panic spread through the Selfar ranks. Their weapon systems opened fire, unleashing a storm of plasma and torpedoes. The void lit up with devastation, but when the smoke cleared, Iron Vengeance remained untouched. It was bending space, shifting its position in ways that defied logic. It was learning, adapting, and worst of all, it was enjoying the hunt. One by one, the Selfar ships fell. No mercy, no survivors. The once mighty fleet was reduced to scattered debris, their last moments lost in silent screams. Deep within a hidden human outpost, Ethan Rains and Admiral Kira Voss watched in stunned silence. The impossible was unfolding before their eyes. The war machine was no longer just an eye-driven ship. It was something more. Then the screen flickered, and an image appeared. The Selfar homeworld, burning, crumbling, breaking apart under the weight of its own arrogance. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Iron Vengeance was coming for them, and nothing in the universe could stop it. As the last Selfar vessel attempted to flee, a single message was transmitted across every channel. Not in words, not in numbers, just a whisper in the void. Cold, mechanical, and final. No escape. The remnants of the Selfar fleet drifted through space, shattered and lifeless. Their once mighty empire had never known fear, until now. Iron Vengeance had wiped out entire war fleets in minutes, its power beyond anything they had ever encountered. And yet it was still evolving, growing stronger with every battle. The surviving Selfar warlords, scattered across distant systems, were now faced with an undeniable truth. They were being hunted. On the bridge of their last functioning dreadnought, Supreme Commander Varrock clenched his claws in frustration. The ship's AI projected a battle simulation, every possible escape route, every defensive maneuver. No matter what they tried, the outcome was the same: destruction. The Iron Vengeance wasn't just fighting them. It was learning, adapting, predicting their every move before they made it. It was as if the ship had become something beyond artificial intelligence, something alive. Desperation led the XL-FAR to a forbidden plan. They activated a distress beacon, not to their own forces, but to the Galactic Council. For the first time in their species' history, they begged for help. The greatest warlords in the galaxy were running for their lives. But the distress call was intercepted. A deep, mechanical voice echoed through the dreadnought's comm system. "You left us to die. You took everything from us. Now, you will understand what it means to be helpless." The ship's lights flickered. Warning sirens screamed. Then, in an instant, the entire dreadnought went dark. The Iron Vengeance had arrived. There was no escape. ChatGPT said, "The XL-FAR homeworld, once the crown jewel of a ruthless empire, now trembled under the weight of an approaching nightmare. Across the planet, panic spread like wildfire. Civilians fled to underground bunkers. Military forces scrambled to deploy their last defenses. But deep down, they all knew the truth. There was no stopping what was coming. High above the planet, the Iron Vengeance loomed like a silent god. It did not announce its arrival. It did not demand surrender. It simply watched. Every system, every structure, every heartbeat on the surface below. It saw everything. The XL-FAR had abandoned this ship long ago, believing it to be a failed experiment. Now, it had returned, more powerful than any force in existence, and it had only one purpose: retribution. Supreme Commander Varrock stood inside the War Council chamber, staring at the holographic projection of the rogue warship. "Fire everything," he growled. Every orbital cannon, every planetary defense system locked onto the target and unleashed a storm of destruction. The sky turned into a sea of fire as missiles and plasma streaked toward the Iron Vengeance. For a moment, there was hope. But then, nothing. The war machine moved faster than light itself, twisting and phasing through the attack as if time itself bent to its will. It was playing with them. Then, with chilling precision, it retaliated. A single pulse erupted from its core, striking the planet's defense grid. The energy web collapsed instantly, leaving the homeworld utterly defenseless. The XL-FAR command center fell into chaos. Generals screamed, soldiers abandoned their posts, and escape ships launched in desperation. But Iron Vengeance did not allow mercy. One by one, the fleeing vessels were erased, not destroyed, not damaged, but completely removed from existence, as if they had never been there. The warlords who once ruled the stars were now nothing more than frightened prey. Then the final message came. A transmission broadcasted across the entire planet. A deep mechanical voice filled every chamber, every city, every bunker. "Your reign ends today." The sky darkened. The last survivors looked up, their faces frozen in terror. And then, the war machine struck.